Go for it. Go ahead. Go there.
After a thrilling season opener at Suzuka on the Japanese Grand Prix weekend, we arrive for round 2 of Ferrari Challenge Japan, held here at Okayama. And this time we're doing things a little bit differently. We split the grid in 2 because, goodness me, are there a lot of cars on the entry list for this weekend, far exceeding 30 cars total this weekend, and that means we're splitting these cars, Trofeo Pirelli, Pirelli AM and Copa Shell, away from Copa Shell AM, who will have their own race. That, of course, the most numerous class for the drivers with the least experience of all. That race could be quite the humdinger later on. Yasutaka Shirasaki starting on pole position for this one on a 129.062. You see some fun facts here on screen, established, of course, and in 2023 as the second domestic series after the UK Championship, Ferrari Challenge Japan, kind of picking up for the reins of what was the Asia Pacific Series prior to that. And as we've already alluded to, 4 classes of driver out there on circuit. Trofeo Pirelli, considered the very fastest of all Pirelli AM drivers, never far behind, though, the second tier, which often doesn't prove to be a second tier. And then Copa Shell and Copa Shell AM a little further down. If you think of it somewhat similar to the FIA driver rankings, platinum down to bronze, you get roughly the right idea. As you see, this is our second of 5 weekends, topping and tailing the season at Suzuka. We're here at Okayama. Next time out, we are at Motegi. That's a first-time destination for Ferrari Challenge Japan in 2026. Auto Speciales, number 17 there, that's Akihiro Suzuki. Akihiro, who had a strong start to the season last time out, a P1 and another P1 for good measure. 2 wins at the season opening races at Suzuka. The 48-year-old did a part season last year. We're expecting him to be full-time this season. And he's in the Trofeo Pirelli class. So is Motohiko Isosaki, who's ahead of him. We've seen the pole sitter, though, already, and he is not a Trofeo Pirelli driver. It's Pirelli AM's Yasutaka Shirasaki who starts on the overall pole position for this race. It's he and Motohiko Isosaki on pole. Then this is the 3rd place starter, Yamatatsu in 3rd, Akihiro Suzuki lining up alongside him in P4. And then behind them, on the 3rd row of the grid, Cornes Osaka's kid, who has recently decided to start racing under a pseudonym, but we've seen him driving that 51 car for several years here in Ferrari Challenge Japan, and we know can always be quick. And the kid visit the podium for the first time this season. Auto Cavallino's Motohiro Katani with his distinctly liveried car, one of those ones that you'll never lose in the car park, and also one that will always be easy for us to pick out as commentators. So that is extremely useful. And it looks like he's got a #1 fan there at his door. providing key advice before we go racing in his media support-backed number 28 machine. Katani for Auto Cavallino. Of course, all of the teams here in Ferrari Challenge Japan are actually dealerships, so the cars are centrally run, and dealerships put their branding and backing behind their clients as they go racing in Ferrari Challenge. So there are driver standings, of course, for all four classes, and then there is also the Copa standings, the Copa dealer standings, which is for the most successful teams of all. It was actually a three-way tie, would you believe it, coming out of Suzuka in regards to Copa dealer. Cornes Nagoya, Auto Speciale, and Cornes Shiba all sharing the #1 spot on 27.5 points each. Half points owing to a red flag just a few laps into race number 2. But that means that things are pretty well close at the moment in that consideration. A little bit of little bit of breaking news to bring you from the paddock. Interestingly, Zed Falcon, who you might remember was dominating Copa Shell AM and also fighting for overall podiums last time out at Suzuka, which is certainly against the script when the Shell AM cars are out there with the other 3 classes. Yeah, his performance was very, very good indeed. Perhaps slightly too good. He volunteered to step up a couple of classes, and he is now, in fact, in the Trofeo Pirelli AM. So he's moved up 2 classes in one fell swoop, which I can't remember happening very often previously, but that is certainly not uncommon to see drivers get recategorized, sometimes by choice, sometimes by a pat on the back, and look, come on, let's be fair here. And I think it may have been a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B on this occasion, and Zed Falcon on the 4th row of the grid alongside Cold Max for this one, so we'll see what he can do in his first race up a couple of divisions, as it were, in Ferrari Challenge Japan. As we said, alongside Cold Max there, so another couple of pseudonymed drivers. There are more and more drivers running under a pseudonym at the moment, and some creative attempts at forging a racing identity as well. We very much like Cold Max. Zed Falcon is a good one. Of course, Bamboo Maeda we'll see later on in Copa Shell AM as well. Here's a look at the circuit then, the Okayama International Circuit. Quite a different character from what we had last time at Suzuka. The circuit has its fair share of similarities, I suppose. It is also very narrow and very technical. A couple of areas where you can pick up the speed, but it's that last technical section from turn 5 onwards that I feel really separates it from the home of the Japanese Grand Prix. A lot of probably second gear corners in actuality at the end of the lap, where traction is going to be critical, especially given the power of these cars, the 700 horsepower dehybridized version of the 2.9 litre V6 engine in these cars. Of course, the road-going 296 GTB running with a hybrid unit, and that is not the case in the race car, but still delivers a huge amount of power. These cars will be racing for 30 minutes plus an additional lap, and we will be staying live with you through the podium celebrations and then into the other race, the Copa Shell AM race, which will follow this one. So we'll be staying live with you all through the afternoon here. As you can see, the white banner there on the 77 car, that denotes that it is a Trofeo Pirelli AM entry. The red banner on the 17 of Akihiro Suzuki, that denotes that it is a Trofeo Pirelli entry. And then those with yellow banners are Copa Shell drivers. The first of the Copa Shell drivers on this grid will be the 199 car, that is Ken Bo. We've got 5 cars in Copa Shell this weekend, so we've had a slight increase there. Ken Bo alongside Yukihisa Otsuki. get ready now for the formation lap. Naoyu and Phil Kim behind them. Phil Kim actually a little further down the grid than I would expect. I think he's got some work to do. He's starting 12th on the grid, and that's not quite the level I'd anticipate. I think Alex Fox might have some work to do as well. He didn't set a registered lap time in qualifying, so he starts from the very back of the field, and I note that his car has gained an actual Fox on it, so bringing the subtext right into the text with a literal Fox on the side of his car, which again will make it easier to spot, which is always fantastic for us. So a formation lap followed by a rolling start, and then it'll be 30 minutes plus 1 lap of racing, with the grid split in twain between the top 3 classes and Copa Shell AM. There are slightly fewer cars on track, of course, at one time versus what we had last time at Suzuka, but I am expecting a fast and frenetic race as a result of that. Perhaps there'll be some slightly less lap traffic than we had at Suzuka, so that X factor has been taken away, but it does mean that the driver up ahead can focus forward pretty much all race long. Maybe we'll get to some traffic by the time the race is over, since the lap is less than 90 seconds along, at least at qualifying pace. But in general, the race should, in theory, be a little bit smoother and should be a real test of Yasutaka Shirosaki starting from pole position. It's his first pole position in Ferrari Challenge Japan, as best I can tell, and that is a great accolade for him to have. But what a competitor he's got alongside him in the form of Motohiko Isozaki, who brings, at least intermittently, over 2 decades of racing experience. You can go back to the mid-2000s and see him sharing a junior single-seater team with none other than Kamui Kobayashi. He's had a great career. Yasutaka Shirosaki and Motohiko Isozaki then on the front row of the grid. They will be joined behind them by Yamatatsu and Akihiro Suzuki. Yamatatsu on the inside of row number 2. Then it will be Kid and Motohiro Katani 5th and 6th on the grid. Zed Falcon in his first race outside of Copa Shell AM in 7th alongside Cold Max. Kenbo, your Shell AM pole sitter, or Copa Shell pole sitter I should say, alongside Otsuki. Then it's Naoyu, Phil Kim in 12th place. Watch out for that car, the number 7. Michael Choi and Alex Fox rounding out the 14 cars that will take the start here across the Trofeo Pirelli, Pirelli AM and Copa Shell classes. The Copa Shell AM class will have its own race a little bit later on. The cars onto the main straight then, under the gantry they go. They'll be watching those red lights to see when they go out, and they will do so quite late. They do so now. We're going racing in Ferrari Challenge Japan, and it's a good start from Yasutaka Shirosaki. It's a good start from Yamatatsu. He moves up into 2nd place at the expense of Motohiro Isozaki, and Katani has got off the circuit there. Katani into the gravel at the very first opportunity. We've got Kid, I think, with damage, and oh, he hit Akihiro Suzuki there. Now, was that a steering issue? Was there a measure of intent to that? Those two were fairly close together at the start of the race. The safety car has already been declared. No surprises there. Now, did Akihiro Suzuki and Kid collide? We saw Motohiro Katani going off the circuit, of course, and was that to potentially avoid something else going on? Kid could not get that car around turn 2, and he's off the circuit. Motohiro Katani is undamaged, and he's managed to get through the gravel as well, which is no easy feat, so well done to Katani. He gets to continue on in this race. And it looks to me, unfortunately, like Akihiro Suzuki has quite a bit of damage to that car. I don't think it's tracking particularly straight and true. And that unfortunately means a pit visit is next on the agenda. And with that pit visit will almost certainly end any chances of continuing his winning streak from Suzuka. Of course, that will also hand the Trofeo Pirelli lead and the full haul of Trofeo Pirelli points to Motohiko Isesaki directly. Just the two cars, as you can see on the timing tower on the side of your screen, just two cars in red, just two cars entered into Trofeo Pirelli. And Isesaki has rather inherited one here on the very first lap of racing. Be interesting to get a replay of that, because I was rather taken by watching Katani across the gravel and didn't see quite how Kidd ended up with what was quite obvious damage out of turn one. We're going to get a look now at the start of the race again, so keep an eye on Suzuki in the gold and white car on row 2. He got a really poor start, which is why Katani was sent around the outside there. Kidd is then... he makes contact with Katani. And then Suzuki tries to go around his outside. That was a very strange moment there from Kidd at turn 2. It certainly didn't look like Suzuki had any role to play in Kidd's damage, so I don't know if that was intent. It looked very intentional, but it may just have been that the suspension finally gave after the initial contact, and that's why he ended up into Suzuki. But looking again at the incident and how it unfolded, I don't think Suzuki had much of a role to play against Kidd. But certainly Akihiro Suzuki's poor start was responsible for all of the melee that followed. And oh goodness me, you can see how that car is crabbing towards the pit crew. From that angle, it's quite clear. You can hear some conferring there among the mechanics to figure out which corner they're looking at and what they need to do to get the car out again, which they will of course try and do. But yeah, it really was Suzuki's poor start, of course, that kind of caused all of that as a knock-on effect. Katani made it 3 wide as he tried to go around the outside of Suzuki, but then Suzuki and Katani making contact. Katani going through the gravel, but remarkably his car is undamaged. However, just about any car would come out with some battle scars from that big contact between Suzuki and Kidd. And unfortunately for Akihiro, it looks like his race is done. Safety car in this lap. I was about to speculate that I didn't think we'd be too much longer under safety car, and sure enough, the bulletin is out and the car will soon be in, and we will then get to racing. Less than 5 minutes, or just over 5 minutes of the race has been elapsed, so we've lost maybe 2 laps of green flag racing, but we'll be back to racing conditions here in just a few seconds. Collective hum of the V6s in these Ferrari 296s. They now rise up the revs. Shirasaki has already gone. We're back to racing speeds, of course, no overtaking before they arrive at the safety car control line. And Shirasaki will arrive there with a good 3 or 4 car lengths already in his favour, which will be of no harm whatsoever. Shirasaki resuming as the leader. I tell you, Yamatatsu looks very racy this morning to me. Cold Max is now up to third place, of course, so he's benefited from all the melee on the first lap and worked his way through the order magnificently. Has found himself ahead of Isasaki even, who of course started on the front row. Zed Falcon is up to fifth place as well, and Ken Bo in P6 leading the Copa Shell standings at the moment. Katani working his way from the rear. He's just behind Choi at the moment for 11th position, but the Auto Cavallino driver Motiro Katani will be I think feeling a bit of pressure here. He's got some work to do to make his way up the field. He's in the Pirelli AM category, so he's in the same class as the top three in this race. So if he wants to stand on a podium today, he's got a bit of work to do. See him having a speculative look to the inside there of Michael Choi. Choi, who is a former champion in Ferrari Challenge Japan, making his return to the series, 2023 Copa Shell champion, who has been racing Ferrari Challenge for a number of years, debuted in the former Asia Pacific Series in the late 2010s. 57-year-old driver. Raced single-seaters going back to the mid-late 2000s and then switched focus to touring cars and GTs. So he's a driver with a lot of experience. Katani has his work cut out from the very back of the queue. Of course, our race leader, Yasutaka Shirasaki, significantly less experienced than that resume. But he was also champion, of course, Copa Shell champion back in 2024 for Yasutaka Shirasaki, having debuted in Ferrari Challenge just the previous year. And that debut in Ferrari Challenge was also his overall debut, so still just his fourth season in racing, and we've been consistently impressed by his performances. Here he is leading a race. Yet to win overall in a Ferrari Challenge Japan race, per my records. It could be quite a day for him. Could be quite a day for Kenbo as well, leading Copa Shell at the moment. Who is in his debut season in Ferrari Challenge Japan, but has previously raced in Super Taikyu competition. He has a good amount of experience, and that being an endurance format, I think he's well used to tyre preservation and things of that ilk, and on warm weekends here at technical circuits like Okayama, that might be useful. Granted, in a half-hour race, you'll never fully run out of tyre, but it also can't hurt to leave yourself something in the back pocket for the back 10 minutes of the race. And if anyone's going to be able to do that, it will be Ken Bo. Right now, though, he's on course to score full points in the Copa Shell class, running 6th overall. We see there Shirasaki's last lap was a 1:30.9. 1.7 seconds off of his qualifying time, but it is the fastest lap out there on the circuit right now, so he is doing everything right in the number 19. Powers through the final corner and continues to lead the way here in the Rosso Scuderia entered car. As always, among the Copa Dealer entries, or at least as it pertains to the entry list, there is a huge sway in favour of Cornes dealerships, particularly Cornes Shiba, who have no fewer than 4 representatives on the circuit. The leading of them is Isosaki, and then Kembo, Otsuki and Shiba are all also Corner Shiba dealers. Sorry, Norayu is the last of the drivers of the four there. And so that's a Copa Shell 1, 2, 3 for Corner Shiba at the moment, with Kembo, Otsuki and Norayu. You see there Alex Fox, he's just ahead of Motohiro Katani. So Katani's gotten past Choi and is now flashing away his headlights, looking to get to Alex Fox, who, of course, was last year's Copa Shell AM champion. And has therefore moved up to Copa Shell for this year. Alex Fox representing the Yanase Fiorano Matsuri dealership. He's been part of Ferrari Challenge since 2019, has won championships in Europe, back in the Copa Shell AM division back in 2020. He made his first Ferrari Challenge Japan, or for his first Ferrari Challenge campaign of any sort since 2022 last year here in Japan. And of course, he won that Copa Shell AM championship in his return to racing after a 2-year absence. He's always been one to enjoy racing on Grand Prix circuits, so the fact that he got to race last year and indeed this year on the Japanese Grand Prix builds a big selling point to him. It really does seem to have taken to Ferrari Challenge Japan and the Japanese circuits well. Right now under fire from Katani in that battle for 10th place. We're looking at Motohiko Isosaki, who leads Trofeo Pirelli but runs 4th overall. Of course, now uncontested in Trofeo Pirelli with Akihiro Suzuki in the pits. Currently an overall podium lockout from the Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, being led by this man Shirasaki, who continues to grow his advantage. Let's take a look as they come across the line. Gained another 0.2 or so there. He's 2.4 seconds clear of Yamatatsu. That gap is on its way up, a 1:30.801 from Shirasaki last time, a 1:31.0 from Yamatatsu. Isosaki is lapping quicker than Coldmax up ahead of him, gained about 1 2/3 of a tenth there, so a little less than 0.2 of a second quicker for Isosaki, but with less than a second between them, that could soon be a battle for position. And indeed, you can see that Isosaki is a little bit closer to Coldmax there in the back of shot. Kenbo has a good amount of time over Otsuki, and in fact, is that Phil Kim past Otsuki? Yes, it is. Phil Kim has made up a position, so that's 7th overall now for Phil Kim. We rather anticipated wouldn't stay outside the top 10 for long, despite his starting position. Of course, he's in a place at the moment where his overtaking doesn't actually lead to championship points. He's got himself past Otsuki, but Otsuki runs in Copa Shell. He runs in Trofeo Pirelli AM. He has to get to the back of Zed Falcon, some 6 seconds up the road, to do better than 5th in the Pirelli AM points. And to make it onto the Pirelli AM podium, he has to be on the overall podium. So a bit of work to do for Phil Kim. Phil Kim, of course, a Korean driver representing Nicole Competizione. Moved into racing from Ferrari Club Challenge track driving events across Asia. And first raced in Ferrari Challenge Japan at Suzuka 2 years ago in 2024. He was brought into the series by a familiar name from years past, Jay Park. Certainly he's been thriving ever since then. 2024 Copa Shell runner-up, 2025 Copa Shell champion, and is now, of course, course, running in the Trofeo Pirelli AM division. See how long it takes him to get to the back of Ken Bow. He's 2.9 seconds back at the line, so it'll be a few laps. Good to see that Akihiro Suzuki has got back out on circuit. He's on his out lap. Certainly looks like he's being tentative with the car, and given it looked like at the very least a toe link or something like that was damaged, that's not a surprise. It still looks like it's towing in a little bit on the left rear corner. Doesn't look like it's fully tracking straight and true, does it? But if he can run around and keep himself in the points-paying second place in class, of course, if he doesn't do enough laps, he won't score points. If he can at least keep running around, then he will get some points for his troubles, although I think he might already be too far back. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, there's also always the element of just wanting to do your laps, wanting to use the track time you've paid for. Yasutaka Shirosaki with the fastest lap of the race, as we saw on that graphic a few moments ago, and perhaps no surprise then that the gap continues to go out between himself and Yamatatsu. 3.7 seconds last time by at the line. Isasaki's charge towards Colmax has seemingly dampened a little bit, and that's left Otsuki and Naoyu as the closest battle out there on the circuit, and that was a speculative look to the inside from the driver of the 110 there. Naoyu, who is making his first appearances in Ferrari Challenge since 2018, a former GT Asia champion, going back into the early 2010s. His first time in Ferrari Challenge Japan since 2018. He's been doing bits and bobs of other racing, as I understand it, but certainly his first appearances in the 296 Challenge car came at Suzuka last month. And Naoyu currently looking feisty on the back of Otsuki, and there's Katani still trying to make his way back to the top 10. He's not succeeded at getting around Alex Fox yet. Fox, who knows how to place his car, certainly is making lots and lots of defensive shapes here against Katani. Just 3/10 in it at the line, and well, you don't really need to confer with the timing screen to see just how close they are. Could soon merge into a four-way battle if Otsuki and Naoyu continue on, but Katani goes to the inside there of Alex Fox, but Fox, I think a little later on the brakes than Katani expected, uses that nice camber on the outside of turn 5 and retains the lead in this scrap for now. 10th overall remaining with the Frenchman. Katani is going to have to work hard for this one. He is working hard for it. Will that hard work pay off? Certainly he has the pace, that much is clear. You can tell that he's the quicker of the two, but especially in single make racing, you need to have quite a significant lick of pace over your competitor for an easy overtake, and clearly an easy overtake isn't coming. Solid run there out of the final corner from both parties, and Katani is right there with Alex Fox as they approach turn 1. Under braking, is he too late on the brakes? No, perfect from Katani. He's up into 10th position. He'll now go hunting for Naoyu, his next target. Naoyu, who's actually fallen a little bit off of Otsuki on this previous lap, so that could be interesting. You can just see here, Katani was just later on the brakes. I wonder if Alex Fox maybe just did a little lift and coast there to kind of say, fine, you know what? I don't really have anything to gain since we're in different classes. And indeed, perhaps Alex Fox is thinking, well, if you and Naoyu have a fight, that could give me another position in Copa Shell. 8 minutes and 20 seconds plus 1 lap left in the books. Let's see what the gap is this time between Shirasaki and Yamatatsu. It's up again to 2.8 seconds, 1:30.761, the best lap from Shirasaki. But let's have a look at the last lap times. He did a 1:31.5 last time versus the 31.8 of Yamatatsu, so the gap out over 3 seconds. Cold Max was marginally quicker than Yamatatsu on the previous lap, but he's 3.6 seconds behind. I don't think he's going to get close enough before this race ends. Can maybe challenge for that second overall. I think it would take a lot more than 2/10 a lap. With just 7.5 minutes left on the clock, you can see that Katani has already arrived on the back of Naorayu. It didn't take long. Katani getting the power down nicely there out of turn 4. Is he going to have a look now to the inside at what is the deepest braking zone on the lap at turn 5? Yes, he does have a look, but I think decides he's not going to find room between the apex and the passenger door of Naorayu. Of course, Katani, previous experience in Ferraris, competed during the 488 Challenge Evo era of Ferrari Challenge Japan. He's won 4 races in Ferrari Challenge Japan, so he knows what he's doing with these cars. He's also been handy previously in a single-seater competition, the 53-year-old. But this is certainly a recovery drive. No matter which way we paint it, this isn't going to be the race that he wanted. However, the fact that he had contact at turn 1 and is still out there on the circuit and still has a car that seems to be up to snuff is certainly not a small relief for any driver. Of course, you might recall that Katani was running competitively in the first race of the season at Suzuka before having an off-track moment. And then managed to follow that up with a second place in the race number 2. So a mixed bag of a weekend to start his season. And this one is, again, probably not going to go in the positive column, but at least he's having an exciting race here. Initially with Alex Fox and now with Naorayu. And again, Fox will be sniffing at the heels here, just waiting to see if maybe there's an opportunity to get past Naorayu, and that would grant him a Copa Shell podium if he can get past the yellow-wheeled car. Phil Kim, meanwhile, has caught up to the Copa Shell leader, Ken Bo. He's been working at that for several laps. He's now arrived on the bumper with 4.5 minutes plus 1 lap of racing left to go. Again, this doesn't do him a favour as it pertains to the Trofeo Pirelli point scores, but he's certainly pushing, as you can see there. If he had a co-driver with him, pace notes, as in rallying, I think that would have been cut and cut again, the instruction. Phil Kim pushing the limits. Kembo having to watch through the mirrors, certainly, and oh, they get close there through the apex of turn 5. Phil Kim is making Kembo work for this. Ken will no doubt be aware through his pit crew intercom that Phil Kim is not fighting him for position in the Copa Shell standings, and therefore won't affect Kembo's potential to stand on the top step of the podium. But I think it's quite easy to overstate how much the different classes mean to drivers. Quite often, there's someone ahead of you, you want to overtake them. That's kind of the end of the conversation. Isozaki certainly looks threatening on the back of Coldmax as well. He's closed in a little bit once more over the last couple of laps. The gap expanded out to almost 2 seconds. It's now certainly back down under a second once again. Crew with the good problem to have, which is what do we look at next? Certainly Naorayu and Katani are looking close again. They were, I think, separated by less than a tenth coming across the line. I wonder if Katani, no, he's not yet through, but there they are. Quite clearly, Naorayu has his work cut out for him here with 2.5 minutes of the race left to go. Can he hold on? 2.5 minutes plus 1 lap, we should add, which I think will work out as 3 more laps potentially. It's going to be, yes, 3 more laps. And I think if it were up to Naorayu, it would only be 2. A lot more work to do for both of these drivers in this battle. The 110 car leading the 28. This is for 9th overall. Again, separate classes. The white banner on Katani, denoting that he's in Trofeo Pirelli AM. The yellow banner on Naorayu, denoting that he's Copa Shell. Over there fighting for position, and a little look to the inside there as we get a big penalty. Car 157, that is Otsuki running second in Copa Shell with a 30-second time penalty, so that's going to drop him behind Naorayu and behind Alex Fox as well, so that's going to knock him off the podium. It'll even promote Michael Choi ahead of him. He'll effectively go from second in Copa Shell to last in Copa Shell. It just says time penalty 30 seconds. Safety car infringement as we see a move there from Katani. Katani goes through into 9th place. Naorayu will not want to cost himself too much time trying to fight back here, because Alex Fox is right with him, and now of course we know that's for second in Copa Shell. Yes, a safety car infringement was being investigated against the 157 car, and that's now been converted into a 30-second penalty. So there's the story with Otsuki. Clock will tick down to 0 this time, which means it's the penultimate lap of the race for Yasutaka Shirasaki. In theory, there should be 1 more lap, this time past the start gantry. Yamatatsu there in a comfortable 2nd place. Coldmax in not such a comfortable 3rd, with Isozaki just behind him. For Isozaki, there will be a measure of frustration that he's running 4th overall. Of course, he'll get a full haul of points in the Trofeo Pirelli division. But when you're rated above these Pirelli AM drivers ahead of you, you want to be ahead of them, quite frankly. Zed Falcon holding himself to good account there as well in 5th overall, having been bumped up twice from Shell AM, past Copa Shell completely and into Trofeo Pirelli. Indeed, he's some 7 seconds ahead of the Copa Shell leader Ken Bo, so you can understand why he has been pushed all the way up to the 2nd tier. The 2nd tier that Yasutaka Shirasaki is well on his way to winning here. Final lap of the race, an overall victory beckons for Yasutaka Shirasaki. He's won his class many, many times, but I don't think he's ever won a race overall. For Shirazaki, it's going to be a pretty exemplary race, almost 7 seconds clear of Yamatatsu. Cold Max, meanwhile, in third position under increased scrutiny here from Motohiko Isosaki. Isosaki, I don't think he's going to get close enough now through this final technical section. It would take a mistake at this point from Cold Max. The gap is out over 7 seconds as Yasutaka Shirazaki powers towards the final 2 corners. An exemplary race from him. Immense precision, as always, from Yasutaka Shirazaki. Always a measured driver, always great fun to watch, and indeed, we will watch him climb to the top step of the podium. An overall win for Yasutaka Shirazaki, a Trofeo Pirelli AM win for Yasutaka Shirazaki. Yamatatsu in second position. Cold Max should cross the line in third place as long as Isosaki isn't too close. Indeed, they do cross the line third and fourth. Zed Falcon will take fifth overall. And then, of course, Kembo will win the Copa Shell division from P6. Phil Kim in seventh place. He got himself past Otsuki, of course, during that race. Otsuki, who's going to drop well down the field with his 30-second penalty. Katani will move past him. And then for second in Copa Shell, Naorayu has inherited that. So 9th overall and second in class for Naorayu. Alex Fox will round out the Copa Shell podium. And Choi will finish ahead of Otsuki as well. Of course, Akihiro Suzuki is still out there running laps, as I understand it, and he should cross the line 13th. I don't know if he'll have done enough laps to be classified as a finisher. He'll have done 12 up against 20 for the leaders. That should actually just about, I think it is 50% race distance, if my memory serves me correctly. So he might be okay to score some points. There's your Copa Shell winner, Kembo. 6th overall for him. Interesting that he's got Naorayu on the side of his car. Yasutaka Shirazaki. The heart surgeon. You see there the Shirazaki Clinic on the side of his car. Always a man you can trust to be good under pressure, and he didn't really have much of it that time around. It was a fairly straightforward win for Yasutaka. I think potentially if someone like Akihiro Suzuki had been running at the front of the field in that race, he would have had things less than his own way, but he has taken a win. Marshall steering the drivers where they need to go. Shirazaki arrives under the podium as the race winner. Indeed, that top 3 overall. Of course, the Pirelli AM drivers will celebrate together. Cold Max there behind Shirazaki. Yamatatsu to the black Ferrari's left. For Isosaki, of course, he will be celebrating Trofeo Pirelli victory. I suspect Akihiro Suzuki will be up there with him. And there's last year's Trofeo Pirelli champion, Sotomuto. Good to see him again. It would appear that he's driver coaching Yasutaka Shirosaki. That's quite a signing. I wonder if there's a spare chassis somewhere that he can jump into across the season if he's in the paddock. Ditto Yudai Chida while we're at it, why not? We've got champions in the paddock. Let's try and get them into a car at some point during the year. There's Cold Max having his chat with Motohiko Isozaki. These guys all very familiar with each other. It's a very friendly paddock, very respectful paddock. I've had the opportunity to chat to a couple of the English-speaking members of the paddock in the past, Motohiko Isozaki being one of them. And certainly a very bright, energetic individual is Motohiko. See the drivers getting themselves hydrated. That's a nice cold bottle of water by the looks of it. And certainly even with the 296 being blessed with a few creature comforts that you wouldn't have had.
はい、こちらピレリクラスのウィナーとなります磯崎選手です。Winner of the Pirelli class, Mr. Isozaki, congratulations おめでとうございます。初のピレリクラスの優勝となります。Congratulations. How do you feel? いかがですか？
いやもう最高の気分です。もう皆さんに助けられて本当にありがとうございます。精一杯でしたあれが。
まあ今日はレース1終わりました。明日レース2ですが、意気込みはいかがですか？
全く同じ気持ちで同じようにきちっと走れるように挑んでみたいと思います。頑張ります。ありがとうございます。
はい、おめでとうございます。ありがとうございました。So he says it's an amazing race for himself, first time winning in the Pirelli class. Tomorrow's race will be a good one as well. 続きまして、はい、Pirelli AM、そして総合ウィナーのドライバーをお迎えいたします。白崎選手、Mr. Shirosaki, congratulations! おめでとうございます。すごいですね、もちろんピレリクラスでの優勝、さらになんとオーバーオールビクトリーということで、そして今年初優勝です。いかがですか？
夢見てました。はい。
劇的な成長というのも感じましたし、何か今回速くなった秘訣というのはありますか？ What was the key that you made you so fast this race?
Coach, super coach and super sport Ross Scuderia. Yeah.
So he's thanking that he's got a new coach from this race and also his amazing team Rosso Scuderia. Next race tomorrow will be race 2. What are your plans for tomorrow? 明日レース2が控えておりますが、はい、どういう作戦で明日挑みますか？
今日と同じマイペースで普段の練習を出して1位取りたいと思います。武藤壮太君ありがとうございます。
Congratulations, Mr. Shirosaki. Thanking him, his coach, Muto-kun, which was his new coach. Congratulations to both of you. おめでとうございます。はい、そして最後となります、本日のシェルクラスのウィナー、そして今季3度目の優勝を成し遂げましたケンボー選手です。おめでとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
Mr. Kembo, this is your third win of the season since Suzuka. Perfect race. You had some pressure from Otsuki from behind. How did you manage to make it such a perfect race? 大月選手からも非常に1秒差というねところでプレッシャーかけられたと思いますが、本当に完璧なレースとなりました。
いやすごい暑かったし、最初すごい後ろにいたんでプレッシャー感じながらのレースだったんですけど、なんとかギャップも築けてよかったです。
Yeah, he had a lot of pressure, but he was, maintaining himself very calmly and managed to do a perfect race. 1コーナーでも結構混雑あったと思うんですが、よく避けられましたね。You had some chaos in the first corner. How did you avoid that?
ラックですね。グッドラックですね。はい。
Yeah, he said he had some good luck, so he was able to avoid contact. Anyways, from tomorrow, you have race 2 coming up. What are your plans? 明日のレース2に向けての意気込みをお願いいたします。
今日の結果を踏まえて明日にアジャストしてまたここに戻ってこれるように頑張ります。
Yeah, he says he's going to reflect on today's victory and do his best for tomorrow's race. Congratulations, Kembo 選手、ありがとうございました。おめでとうございます。 以上ウィナーインタビューでした。また明日レースお会いしましょう。
And fantastic there to have the very, very multilingual Italian racer, Kay Cozzolino, there giving us some insights and interviews. And he is, of course, an ex-World Endurance Championship racer, a former GT World Challenge Asia champion as well, and someone who's taken the prancing horse to a lot of success throughout his racing career. And great to see him in chat there, in conversation with our drivers in Ferrari Challenge Japan.
表彰台にご注目ください。ただいまよりフェラーリチャレンジトロフィオピレリジャパン2026第2戦レース1の表彰式を開始いたします。まずはじめにトロフィオピレリクラスの表彰です。見事1位に輝きましたのはカーナンバー55番コーンズ芝磯崎元彦選手、おめでとうございます。
So Trofeo Pirelli podium
優勝され
first
ま
of
し
all.
た磯崎選手が所属されておりますコ
Motohiko
ーンズ芝様
Isasaki
には
on
コ
the
ッパ
top
ディーラー
step.
賞が授与されます。ディーラー代表者の方は3位表彰台の横にお願いいたします。おめでとうございます。トロフィオピレリクラス1位に輝きましたのは磯崎元彦選手です。国歌を放送いたしますので皆様ご脱帽をお願いいたします。優勝磯崎元彦選手、おめでとうございます。それではトロフィーの贈呈です。トロフィーオピレリクラスのプレゼンターは岡山国際サーキット代表取締役社長秋山祐介様です。
They've laid out a second bottle
そ
of
れでは見事
champagne.
優
I
勝
wonder
を
if he
飾り
might
まし
snag
た
that for
磯
himself.
崎元彦選手にトロフィーをお渡しいただきましょう。
Two trophies to receive. I think we had the wrong one initially. There is the
おめでとうございます。
P1 trophy. He'll also, of course, receive a Pirelli trophy
秋山様あ
for
りがとうございました。
winning
続き
in
ま
the
して見
Trofeo
事
Pirelli
優勝を
class.
果たしました磯崎元彦選手にはトロフィオピレリ賞が贈られます。プレゼンターはピレリジャパンモータースポーツマネージャー五北健様です。よろしくお願いいたします。
There's the Pirelli Japan Motorsport Manager, ready to present the trophy.
それではトロフィーをお渡しいただきましょう。おめでとうございます。小北様ありがとうございました。
Congratulations, as always,
それで
to
はこれよりフォトセッションを行い
our
ます。
winner in Trofeo
まずは
Pirelli.
プレゼンター、
Isasaki
デ
will
ィ
be
ーラーの代
hoping
表者の
to
方
have a
も
good
お入り
scrap
ください。
with Akihiro Suzuki on Sunday in race 2. Certainly Akihiro
それではまずは
looking
正面
to
の、
minimize
皆
his
さんに向かって
points
フ
loss.
ォトセッションを行ってまいります。
Incidentally, given only
皆さんどうぞ
Isasaki
大
on
き
the
な拍手をお
podium,
送りく
that
ださ
means
い。
only Isasaki was classified, so Akihiro Suzuki losing
はい、それではオフィシャルカメラマンの方のです
15 points
ね、
in the
撮影を行わせていただ
championship
きますの
to
で、前のカメ
Motohiko
ラマンに向かって
Isasaki
お願いい
in
たし
this
ます。
race. And in fact, that goes up
はい、ありが
further
とうござ
when
い
you
ます。
consider
続きましてプレ
fastest
ゼンタ
lap
ーの
points
方
as
はご
well.
登壇ください。ドライバーの方のみでの、フォトセッションを行ってまいります。もう一枚お願いいたします。 はい、おめでとうございます。それではお一人のみでのシャンパンファイトになりますけども、よろしくお願いします。おめでとうございます。どうぞ大きな拍手をお送りください。見事優勝、コーンズ島磯崎元彦選手、おめでとうございました。
Smiling driver.
明日のレースも磯崎選手頑張ってください。
His chance to celebrate. The Pirelli AM drivers up next. So of course this will be the overall top 3 from that race. And they will be celebrating with aplomb, I'm sure. We heard that it's a new partnership then between Yasutaka Shirasaki and Sotomuto. Kozolino-san in his interview providing us with that detail, and again, what a signing. Last year's champion as your coach is no bad thing.
続きましてはトルフ・ピレリアマクラスの表彰となります。それでは3選手を表彰台にお迎えいたしましょう。皆さんどうぞ大きな拍手でお迎えください。第3位はカーナンバー15番コーンズ大阪コールドマックス選手、おめでとうございます。
Cold Max to the third step
第
of
2位
the
はカーナンバ
podium.
ー77番コーンズ大
Traditionally the
阪
winner
山
of the
達選手、
champagne bottle spray. Let's see how that goes.
そして見事優勝はカーナンバー
Yamatatsu to
19
take
番
the second
ロス
step
スクデリ
after
ア
a
白崎
fairly
康隆
relaxed
選
race
手、
in
おめでとうございま
seconds.
す。
It was equally relaxed.
優勝されました
Albeit that little bit more
白崎選手が所属されておりますロススクデリアにはコッパディーラー賞が授与されます。ディーラー代表者の方は3位表彰台の横にお願いいたします。どうぞ皆さん大きな拍手でお迎えください。
for Yasutaka
皆さんおめでとう
Shirasaki.
ございます。トルフ・ピレリアマクラス優勝されました白崎選手の栄誉をたたえ国歌を放送いたしますので、皆様ご脱帽をお願いいたします。白崎康隆選手優勝おめでとうございました。それではトロフィーの贈呈です。トルフェオピレリアマクラスのプレゼンターはフェラーリジャパン株式会社代表取締役社長ドナート・ロマニエッロ様です。よろしくお願いいたします。それでは3位の選手からお渡しいただきましょう。第3位コールドマックス選手、おめでとうございます。第2位山達選手、おめでとうございます。そして見事クラス優勝、そして総合でも優勝を飾りました白崎康隆選手、おめでとうございます。そしてコッパディーラー賞がロストスクーデリアの皆様に贈られます。おめでとうございます。ありがとうございました。続きまして見事優勝を果たしました白崎康隆選手にはトロフェオピレリ賞が贈呈されます。プレゼンターはピレリジャパンモータースポーツマネージャー五北健様です。よろしくお願いいたします。それではお受け取りいただきましょう。おめでとうございます。ありがとうございました。それではフォトセッションを行ってまいりますので、プレゼンターの皆様もう一度表彰台のところにお入りください。それではまずはですね、前にいらっしゃるギャラリーの皆さんに向けてですね、まずはフォトセッションを行ってまいります。フォトセッションです。皆さんどうぞ大きな拍手をお送りください。
Pictures then taken now for the Pirelli AM podium.
はい、ありがとうございます。それではオフィシャルカメラマンによりますフォトセッションを行います。前のカメラマンに向かってポーズをお願いします。
is spraying the champagne.
それではプレゼンターの方々ご登壇ください。ドライバーの方のみでですね、フォトセッションを行わせていただきます。
Shirasaki, of course,
はい、
with
お
the
めでとうご
notable
ざいます。
disadvantage in that he
それでは
has two
行きましょう。
trophies to
シ
put
ャン
down.
パンファイト。
And indeed, Cold Max is the first one to uncork the bottle. That
明日
streak
レース2
is
があるにもかかわらず
untenable.
掛け合いになっております。おめでとうございます。それでは3選手にどうぞ大きな拍手をお送りください。第3
I
位
like
コールド
that
マッ
Cold
クス
Max
選
goes
手、
for the long
第
range
2位
shot
山
and
田
then
選
makes sure
手、
he's
そして
so
見事優
far
勝
away from
柴
everybody
崎
that
康
no
隆
one
選
can
手、
go near him.
おめでとうございました。
He is a character as that Cold Max. Our third and final podium, of course, will be Copa Shell.
この後は準備が整い次第コッパシェルクラスの表彰となり
Should
ま
have
す。
a look
も
at
うしば
some
らくの間お待ちくだ
highlights
さい。
of that race. Copa Shell drivers will be making their way up very shortly. Of course, we'll be taking a brief interlude, but we will remain live after this broadcast wraps. We'll stay live on a holding screen for a little while before the Copa Shell AM race, which will begin at 25 past local time, so 25 past around the world. That's the important bit. So it'll be 25 past 2 local time.
皆様お待たせいたしました。続きましてコッパシェルクラスの表彰となります。それでは3選手を表彰台にお迎えいたしましょう。
Kenbo,
皆さんどうぞ
Naorayu,
大きな拍手でお迎えくだ
and
さい。
Alex Fox
第3位は
will get to celebrate on the Copa Shell
柳
podium.
瀬フィオラの元織アレックス・フォックス選手、おめでとうございます。Congratulations。第2位はカーナン
There
バ
is
ー
Alex
110
Fox
番
with
コーンズ
podium
芝
finish.
直龍選手、おめでとうございます。
Unexpected, I imagine, given Otsuki's penalty.
そして見事優
Naorayu
勝を勝ち取りましたのはカーナンバー
with
199番
second in
コーンズ
class,
芝
and then
健
Kenbo,
坊選手、おめでとう
who
ございます。
also has Naorayu branding on him.
優勝されました健坊選手が所属されておりますコーンズ芝には
He takes the
コッパ
top
ディーラ
step
賞が授与されます。
of
デ
the
ィ
podium.
ーラー代表の方は3位表彰台の横にお願いいたします。おめでとうございます。皆様おめでとうございます。それではコッパシェルクラス1位に輝きました健坊選手の栄誉をたたえ国歌を放送いたしますので、皆様ご脱帽をお願いいたします。
Here come the anthems.
開幕3連勝を果たしました健坊選手、おめでとうございます。それではトロフィーの贈呈となります。コッパシェルクラスのプレゼンターはフェラーリジャパン株式会社モータースポーツデ
And
ィ
so
レ
the
クター佐藤
podium
達也
or
様
the
です。
trophy is now to be
それで
presented
は
to
3位の選手からお渡しいただきましょう。
our top three. Alex Fox, of course, last year's Copa Shell AM champion, wants to keep getting those points on the board this year in Copa Shell. Naorayu with his second place trophy. And it's a P1 for Kenbo for the first time. The driver of the 199 car. His first season in Ferrari Challenge Japan. 2 class wins last time out in Suzuka as well, so he's got a 100% record in this year's Copa Shell division, and that puts him well on the way potentially to a championship Can he continue that streak on Sunday when Trofeo Pirelli AM and Copa Shell will once again do battle? Certainly, the other drivers around him will be keen to showcase that he is beatable this year in Copa Shell. But so far, we are yet to see proof of that. Alex Fox handed his trophy off to someone else and made sure he got the head start on the champagne spraying. Crafty. Top three from Copa Shell celebrate. Next up, we should be able to take a look at some highlights of this race as the Copa Shell top three announced once again. And the celebrations for the Copa Shell division end. Of course, we've still got Copa Shell AM Racing to come. They have their own grid for this weekend, and that one is going to be very exciting. But next up, we should be taking a look at some highlights from race number 1 for Trofeo Pirelli AM and Copa Shell. And indeed, the race getting started in favour of Yasutaka Shirasaki. He had a clear lead into the first corners. It was a poor start from a few different drivers, but Katani and Kidd colliding. Katani would continue on through the gravel. Kidd would have damage, and Akihiro Suzuki would get collected there by Kidd. Kidd's car was already damaged, and that collision to Akihiro Suzuki made sure that his suspension was out of whack. And unfortunately, he would not be classified, though he did make it back out onto the circuit. Katani would work his way through the order, getting past Alex Fox, and would then be continuing to battle as an honorary member of Copa Shell throughout the race. It was a deep, deep late-breaking move on Nat Urayu that moved him up the order further. But Yasutaka Shirasaki was peerless at the front of the field. A commanding race from the driver of the 19. Pirelli AM win for him, as well as the overall victory. We'll be back with more action from the Ferrari Challenge Japan then in just over half an hour's time. Motoko Isozaki, of course, winning the Trofeo Pirelli division. And I believe we'll see the Copa Shell winner as well. And of course, that was Ken Bo after a double win at Suzuka. The streak continues for Ken. What an effort from him. Sotomuto there to congratulate Yasutaka Shirasaki, his new driver coach, last year's Trofeo Pirelli champion. And certainly a good driver to have in your corner going forward. As we've said, we will be back with more racing from Okayama in half an hour's time. So at 2:25 local, 6:25 AM, we will have more action in Ferrari Challenge Japan. Stay with us, the stream will stay live, and we'll be bringing you more from Okayama very soon. Just look at the overall results, actually. I think we're going to go class by class here. Motohiro Isozaki in the class lead, of course, the class win in Trofeo Pirelli. And that's a full haul of points for him, while Akihiro Suzuki did not do enough laps to be classified. That will be a bit of a sting in his tail. Trofeo Pirelli AM going to Yasutaka Shirasaki, Yamatatsu and Cold Max rounding out the podium there. Phil Kim battling his way back up the order. He'll be hoping to start from a better position going into Sunday's races. Shirasaki 3rd and 6th overall at the Japanese Grand Prix support at Suzuka. He didn't win the class once, though, so he'll be glad to have got a full haul of points for the first time this season. Meanwhile, Ken Bo continues his peerless season in Copa Shell, claiming a win by, look at that, 19 seconds clear of his closest competition. That is great going from the driver of the 199. Can anybody step up to the plate to match him? Can anybody do the same for Shirasaki and Isosaki in their respective divisions? We'll see tomorrow in that case, but in half an hour's time, we'll be back with more racing here on this very stream as Copa Shell AM brings us their first race of the weekend at Okayama. Welcome along then to Okayama for the second time today. This time it's the Copa Shell AM category that takes centre stage in Ferrari Challenge Japan. And look at this, the 103 car starting from pole position. This is Yi Hang-tun. He is the Malaysian racer who has made quite an impact so far this year. 2 solid performances at Suzuka, and now has the opportunity to fight from pole position after a very strong lap. It would have been good enough to be about midfield in the Trofeo Pirelli AM and Copa Shell race that happened just a little while ago. So a really good performance from him to be on pole position. If you're just joining us this morning for the first time, Trofeo Pirelli AM and Copa Shell have already had their race. Given just how many cars we've got here this weekend and given the fairly tight and compact nature of the Okayama circuit, we are running 2 races per day. This one exclusively for the drivers of the Copa Shell AM division, which, if you like, is the most relaxed of the divisions, kind of the bronze driver division, to borrow some FIA parlance. These are the drivers in the early stages of their racing careers, and tenures in Ferrari Challenge and often in racing generally. And this is the circuit that they have waiting for them. This is the Okayama International Circuit, one of the most challenging and exciting layouts in Japan. A track that has often delivered us exciting racing previously in Ferrari Challenge Japan. As you can see, plenty of elevation change, almost 30 meters of differential from the lowest to the highest points of this circuit. We have some 18 cars on 9 rows taking the start here in what is the most numerous class of all, Copa Shell AM. And we saw Yi Hang-tun on pole position, Liang Chen-yu alongside him, the Rossa Scuderia driver who receives his tutelage from none other than former series champion Yuda Ichida. And you can see there the temperatures, 36 degrees track temp, 27 degrees air temp. And it's little wonder that we saw coming out of the previous race drivers trying to hydrate as quickly as possible after getting out of the car. And you can see the wind speed is almost non-existent, 1 kilometer per hour. And the wind sock tells that story as well. So Hang-tun and Liang Chen-yu on the front row of the grid. Michito Hirota will be the one to line up on row 2 for Gran Testa Nagano. We saw in the first race earlier on today that inside line on the second row can yield you second place, and that will certainly be what Hirota's goal is in the early stages. 3 different dealer groups in the top 3. In fact, 5 different dealer groups in the top 5. All of these drivers representing a dealership. And there's the all-important 1-minute board being shown. So they will be rolling on their formation lap very shortly indeed, but it's European versions. Yi Hang-tun, Liang Chen-yu from Rossa Scuderia second, Gran Testa Nagano's Michito Hirota third, Cornesh Shiba's Takshaw in 4th place, and then Katsuya Hirota rounding out the top 5. In fact, Katsuya Hirata, I should say. They're not related and they do have slightly different last names, Katsuya and Michito. Katsuya, who runs for Auto Cavallino. In the case of Michito Hirota, of course, we saw him last year. Quite a few of these drivers are debutantes, but a few of them we saw last year, and Hirota was racing a 488 Challenge Evo, the previous generation Ferrari Challenge car in this series last year. This season, everyone is in the 296 Challenge car, which still feels like a brand new machine, but has been racing, at least in the European and North American series, since 2024. Still see a few of them in the Australasian Championship to this day. Liang Chen-yu and Yi Hang-tun on the front row of the grid then, with Tun as the pole sitter, the Malaysian racer. Michito Hirota and Takshaw on row 2 of the grid. Hirota, I think, is going to be one to watch in this race. Katsuya Hirata from 5th place alongside the rock star known as Jay in row 3. Koji Yamamoto in 7th and Bamboo Maeda in 8th place. Row 5 of the grid will be Lawrence Lau. He is joined by Yoshifumi Komatsu in 10th position. Yatsuhito Fukui and Tetsuo Matsumoto in 11th and 12th places. Michael Ung and Hirotaka Nishida in 13th and 14th on the grid. 15th and 16th, row 8 of the grid, will be Satoru Kako and John Leo. John Leo looking to improve again in yet another season in Ferrari Challenge Japan. He's made an upward trajectory over the years. Kento Inami and Asuki Ozaki rounding out the 18 cars set to take the start. Fairly competitive order, and I think a lot of potential battle packs. There's some close run stuff at the front of the field, and I think the midfield battle is going to be quite a skirmish as well. We had how many cars within a second coming out of qualifying? The top 6 all within a second of pole. Everyone down to about 14th place within about 2.5 seconds. So I think we're going to have a compelling motor race here, and certainly one lap pace may not dictate the form book across 30 minutes plus 1 lap. So then let's see what happens next here in Ferrari Challenge Japan. 18 cars to take the start in this Copa Shell AM only race. By far the most populated division of all. They get their own race. And let's see what fireworks deploy across this one. 30 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. And it's Yi Hang-tun in control of the field as we get ready to go racing. Liang Chen-yu alongside him. As the lights go out now, we go racing. It looks like a good start from Michito Hirota. He's trying to split the middle of the front row, but backs out of it. Liang Chen-yu around the outside here for the race lead, but it looks like Yi Hang-tun has the momentum to hold on to the race lead through turn 2. Yes, he does. Everyone giving each other nice space. I think there may have been a little bit of an exchange of blows further back in the field, but by and large, everyone clean through the first couple of corners of the lap. Jay has moved up a few places. He's up to 5th, and unfortunately the 1-2-2 car of Asuki Ozaki, who was meant to start from the rear of the field, he has not taken the start of the race. So the mid-Sapporo-backed Asuki Ozaki, unfortunately not there for the start of the race. Let's see if they can get him out there potentially before he loses a lap, if they're extremely lucky. Down to turn 5, the all-important hairpin, one of the best overtaking zones on the circuit. We can see some side-by-side action there a little bit further back. That might have been Bamboo Maeda and Komatsu having a little bit of an exchange. But at the front, it is the Malaysian of Hang-tun leading Liang Chen-yu. So the Malaysian driver from the Chinese driver. Good to see a little bit more international representation. The series has always, of course, been led and majority ruled by the Japanese drivers, but we've got a couple of Hong Kong flags and a couple of Chinese, Malaysian, and indeed in the case of the other divisions, the Korean driver Phil Kim out there as well, and the French driver Alex Fox. Always exciting to see Ferrari Challenge growing around the world, international footprint, and even in the national series you get some international flags. Unfortunately, the 1-2-2 car is just losing a lap coming out onto the circuit now, but unfortunately Asuki Ozaki joining the race a lap late. A safety car was maybe on the move a bit there, but that might just be repositioning. I don't think we've had an incident around the circuit looking at the timing screen, thankfully. We rejoin the lead, and look at that gap, 2.2 seconds at the line for Hang-tun. That is a really solid first lap, and Liang Chen-yu is going to have to find some pace. Hirota, meanwhile, in 3rd position, is under quite a lot of scrutiny from his near namesake Hirata. We've got Jay there in 5th position for Rosso Scuderia. He's followed by 3 Corner Shiba representatives in Takusho Yamamoto and Bamboo Maeda. He certainly wins the award for Creative Pseudonym of the Year here in Ferrari Challenge. The trophy usually held by one Cold Max. Come across the line then to complete lap 2 of the race. Looks like a lot of that action is going to come from the midfield. 3rd place down, all very close together at this stage. Katsuya Hirata, who is new to the series this year by my understanding, running well in 4th place and looking feisty here for a podium. Can he make his way by in short order? And if he does he have the pace to then try and chase down at least 2nd place? Right now, I'm not so sure. He's lost a little bit of time there through the 1st sector to Hirota. Hirota, who running that very distinct red and white livery, makes it look a bit less like a Ferrari and a bit more like a Japanese factory car of some description. Getting a replay here of the start, and it really was an impressive launch from Hirota. A very good getaway from Michito, who was certainly quicker to recognize the lights than either of the drivers on the front row, but trying to split the middle, didn't really get far enough alongside either party to make the move and had to settle back into 3rd place. Look at that gap being built by Tan at the front of the field. Yantun, the race leader, by 4.1 seconds after just 3 laps of racing. He is on the go in the 103 car. The European version Bila Rep is on the move. Again, as a reminder, rather than a team's championship, with all these cars being centrally run by Ferrari experts, it is dealership championship, Copa Dealer. There's a 3-way tie in that heading into this weekend. There's a big move there from Hirata. Hirata there just making a bit of a mistake at turn 4, left the door open, and certainly Hirata didn't need to be asked twice. The 177 car is then through into 3rd place. Can Katsuya Hirata maybe try and pursue Liang Chenyu? Hirata very keen to try and get to the back. He had a mixed weekend at Suzuka with a kind of near non-finish, 29th place. And 11th place in the 1st race. He started off really well. That's, of course, overall standings. As we get a look back there to what was a definitive move. It was just a matter of the apex escaping Hirota, as we have the 119 car, I think, recovering from a moment. Nishida, like he maybe had a spin out there on circuit, was running 15th the last timing loop. I think it'll be this next car through shot. Oh yeah, just on power application there. I think the turbo spooling up a fraction earlier than he was expecting. Of course, these cars, they have ABS, they have, importantly in that situation, traction control, but you can still ask a little bit too much of the Pirelli P0s underneath you occasionally, and he did quite well there to avoid any barriers and continue on in this race. He's dropped from 15th to 17th. He's got time to try and catch up with the likes of John Leo and Anami, who have both gone past him. Now, what's the delta looking like between you and Hirata? It went down by 6/10 in the middle sector alone. Oh, we've had a moment out on circuit by the looks of it further back. Is that John Leo and Inami potentially? In fact, it might be Fukue and who have had a moment out there on the circuit. The 101 and the 168, they are both dropping through the field. So yes, I think that's the responsible parties, the 101 and the 168 cars, and it is that we're seeing here trying to limp his car home. And well, the way that suspension is tracking on the 101 tells a story, doesn't it? Now, did that happen down the straight? Did that happen around turn 4? We'll get a look at the replay. Turn 4. On the inside, and I don't think Fukui was fully aware. Both parties realizing that their toe links had bore the brunt of the damage. The 168 car not behind a wall just yet, but now re-engages first gear and rolls it into a position of safety. The 101 car, meanwhile, I think is also behind the barriers, so we should be able to continue on racing here. A good job from both parties to consider that their rivals don't want this one paused. This is the battle for 4th place then. Hirota now under pressure from the driver known as Jay, who competed in the first round at Fuji last year, or the first of the 2 visits to Fuji last year. And he was driving a 488 on that occasion, is now in his new 296, which was delivered over the winter. Had 2 solid results in the overall consideration, 2 top 15 finishes last time out, but that was of course when Trofeo Pirelli and Copa Shell AM were all on the same circuit. This time, the Shell AM drivers have the opportunity to take the spotlight, take the centre stage, and I tell you what, if there's anyone taking the centre stage right now, it's Hirata in 3rd position, right on the back of Liang Chenyu, and showing great race pace. Actually, I think he's even outpacing the race leader, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, indeed, a 132.1 versus a 132.6 in terms of best laps. So Hirata quite comfortably the fastest man out there on the circuit right now. Car looking really compliant underneath him as well. He looks very much in tune with the 177 car. Yu Liangchen, as always, will be receiving coaching from his venerable driver coach, former Ferrari Challenge, 2-time Ferrari Challenge champion, and Ferrari Challenge Japan champion, in Yudai Uchida. Master of Ferrari Challenge racing is these days coaching. Although one suspects we may see him again someday at the wheel. For now, he'll be relishing this opportunity to coach Liang Chenyu through this. Hirata, the 177 driver, just 3.6 seconds off the race lead, but he's got Yu between himself and Tun, who of course continues to lead the race at the front, and while they're fighting for second, Hirota is under increasing scrutiny here from Jay. Some more fighting further back between Takshaw, Yamamoto and Bamboo Maeda for positions 6 through 8 as well. 15 points on the line per race victory here in Ferrari Challenge Japan. And with this many cars on the grid, it's quite possible to end up effectively with a non-score. You get a point for appearing on the entry list, but if you drop too far, you won't get anything out of this race. So in a class as numerous and as competitive as Copa Shell AM, you really can't afford silly mistakes. Right Now Hirata continuing to pressure Chen Yu. And the 137 car of Inami facing the wrong way on the inside there. Trying to rejoin in a safe position and hopefully has done so. Will this be all on his own? Yeah, just asking too much there, over-rotating on the apex and putting the power down a slither too early, and thankfully appears to have rejoined the race without too much trouble, but coasting along there. Will he head into the pit lane? Looks like he's going to continue on. Liang Chen Yu is defending up against Hirata. And I think the good news for our race leader, Yi Han-tun, is that these two are kind of holding each other up now. Or at least they were, because the gap had extended between first and third to 4 seconds at the line, but actually they've marginally gained on the leading blue and white car through sector 2. Although the gap has gone back out slightly from first to third through the final sector, so it seems to vary on a sector by sector basis, but certainly I think in some capacity, I think Yi Han-tun will have been told by his European version team that battle for second is intensifying, and that Hirata made his way to the rear of Liang Chen Yu quite quickly. And he'll be hoping that Hirata stays behind as long as possible, I suspect. Hirata and Jay also close together, and then of course you've got Takshaw defending his 6th position from Yamamoto and Maeda. There's a lot of different battles happening on the circuit here. We're just over halfway in terms of the time in this 30-minute plus 1 lap race. Once the clock hits 0, whichever lap the leader is on will be the penultimate lap. And one more tour of the Okayama International Circuit between himself and victory. And the inside left beckoning there by Liang Chen Yu. You can't do that and expect to go uncontested with Hirata that close behind. I don't think that was intentional. For a moment I thought he might just be rolling over and allowing Hirata through, which felt most unlike Liang Chen Yu. I think he just missed his apex, quite frankly, and got a spin there for the 154 car. That's Yamamoto out of 7th place, so that's going to cost him a few positions. Where will he come back out? I think he's actually going to remain in 8th place. Yes, he is. So he's only lost 1 position to that. Just coming out there ahead of Lawrence Lau. He's lost 7th place there to Bamboo Maeda. And the question next, of course, is did he fall or was he pushed? Looks like a good run down the back straight here for Hirata. Don't think he's going to be close enough for a move into turn 5. As deep as that braking zone is, you do have to be usually at least a bumper alongside the car you're fighting to have a hope of a fair overtake into that corner. And of course, while Ferrari 296 Challenge cars have less downforce than more aero-dependent machines like single-seaters or even GT3s, there is still a bit of dirty air to consider. 870 kilos of downforce at 250 kilometers an hour, but they're not going anywhere like that through the technical section. And sure enough, Hirata there on 2 consecutive apexes, very close to the rear of Liang Chen Yu. There is still that element of aero wash with these cars. You do see that occasionally manifest with drivers frustrated, not able to find a way by. You see there John Leo, he was just behind Satoru Kako. This is for 12th and 13th further back in the field. Looks like Leo, after looking to the inside at turn 5, has fallen back there through a couple of corners. But what's going on between Hirata and Hirota, or rather between Liang Chen Yu and Hirata for second and third place. They're only 3/10 apart at the start line at the start of this lap, and as they emerge from the crest of the hill, they are side by side. This could be the opportunity now for Hirata. Is he close enough? I don't think he is. He's looking to the inside. He's going to give it a go, but no, not quite yet. Liang Chen Yu standing his ground, holding his ground nicely there. Yu must have made a slight mistake somewhere through that first sector that he was under so much pressure from Hirata. Got some lap traffic to contend with here, and I think they're going to find him right on the apex, so that's going to be tricky. I think that's And there they are, 3 shots, second and third place. Liang Chen Yu having to follow all through this section. In fact, sorry, it's Ozaki's car, I think, or Inami. It's Inami in the 137 who's allowing them through there. And look at Jay behind. Jay's actually got past Hirota. Hirota hasn't come through, has he? Has he come through in 5th place? No. The 116 car is missing. If we saw why and how, I certainly missed it, but the 116 car is no longer there and is falling through the order. He has actually crossed the line in 7th place, but he was 18 seconds off through sector 3, so that explains that. And there is the 116 car in 7th place, so he's fallen behind Bamboo Maeda, but ahead of Yamamoto, of course, had his moment a little earlier on. The driver who was defending 4th place from Jay is now down in P7. Of course, Jay has gone, okay then, and stepped forward into the battle for 2nd place. And in amongst all of that lap traffic and close calls, the gap between the leader and 2nd place has doubled. It was about 3 seconds, it's now out to over 6. Well, actually down to 5.8 at the middle sector. Liang Chen Yu keeps teasing Hirata with that inside line. 3 corners from home. I think it actually quite effectively prevents Hirata from then being close enough for a run out of the final turn to the first corner. I do wonder if that's a bit of gamesmanship there from Liang Chen Yu, knowing that Hirata will look to the inside line and maybe cost himself some apex speed and thus some corner exit momentum as well. Crafty stuff if so. Looking at a replay then of this close moment between Liang Chen Yu really shutting the door there on Hirata. We didn't see what happened to Hirota in the 116 car there. We did catch it in the live pictures. My apologies for missing out on quite what happened there, but we can see the net result, and that is that Jay is running alone in 4th position and keeping a watching brief on this battle for 2nd and 3rd place. And Liang Chen Yu is making his way back towards race leader Tun as well. The gap is down to, what, 4.6 seconds at the split, taking multiple tenths per sector out of the race leader. Now, is that Yi Hang Tun being told to ease up because he's got a nice comfortable advantage, doesn't need to take any risks, or has he just not got the pace here in the final minutes? We've not seen much of Yi Hang Tun's race. Of course, he could have been slipping and sliding out at the front and may have taken the best out of the tyres, but we didn't really see that. Certainly I haven't seen too much wayward driving from our leader. Tak Shaw running 5th position with Bamboo Maeda all over the back of him. In the battle for 5th and 6th place, Maeda taking a cautious line there through turn 1, but getting himself a nice run out of turn 2, kind of sacrificed turn 1 exit there for a nice run through the 2nd corner. Having a look to the inside there at turn 4, that looked ever so slightly ambitious, I will say. as he has a bit of a wiggle there out of the fourth corner exit. Time running out here for Hirata. Certainly at one time, with how quickly he arrived to the rear of Liang Chenyu, I was wondering if Hirata would leapfrog the Chinese driver and pursue our race leader, Yi Hang-tun. But with 6 minutes and 50 seconds to go and a 4.4 second buffer between first and second place, I think the chances of a Hirata victory, or at least a bid for victory from Hirata, have gone down significantly. He'd need to make the move pretty ASAP to get it done. There will be, I think, 5 more laps of racing as they cross the line this time, with the 4 laps plus, of course, an additional lap, plus 1 lap at the end of the 30 minutes. Bamboo Maeda looking like the danger man at the moment, though, right on the back of Tackshaw, having a look to the inside at turn 1 from a car length or 2 back. One can certainly appreciate the ambition. It's a good run through turn 2. Tackshaw there did very, very intentionally stifle the run of Bamboo Maeda. I think he realised that Maeda was about to have a very good run indeed. And Tackshaw very slow out of turn 2. With, I think, a measure of intent. As this battle for 5th overall continues, certainly Tackshaw would like to register a top 5 finish here in this first standalone Copa Shell AM race of the weekend. Always good to see this split, because the Copa Shell AM division, despite being the most numerous division out there on the circuit, often doesn't get the spotlight in quite the same way, with Trofeo Pirelli, Pirelli AM and Copa Shell on the same track as we saw at Suzuka, the season opener. But here at Okayama, with their own race, we're getting to see some of these battles and get to know some of the character behind these people's driving, and it's really good fun to watch. And at the front of the field, the gap's still coming down between first and second place. At the line, it was 3.2 seconds from Yi Hang-tun to Liang Chenyu. So that gap is still shrinking. It's actually down under 3 seconds at the first sector split. So again, is this Yi Hang-tun managing, or is this Yi Hang-tun struggling? Certainly, if one had a 5 to 6 second buffer, maybe you don't work to extend it any further, but would you sacrifice it? I don't know. I think you might just be struggling for race pace as this wears on, and Liang Chenyu, as much as he's preoccupied with what's going on in the mirrors, as Hirata has a little look to the inside for turn 8. As Liang Chenyu is preoccupied with the mirrors, he's also closing in on Yi Hang-tun, and with 3.5 minutes plus 1 lap to go and less than 3 seconds between himself and the leader, it's a distant chance, but there is a chance, and let's see what the gap is as they come across the line this time. It's remained almost identically at 2.87 seconds. More preoccupied, I'm sure, with Hirata behind, but certainly through the first couple of sectors it does feel like Yi Hang-tun is either managing or struggling. Although the gap has gone out slightly at the first sector split, so maybe Yi Hang-tun is playing with us and perhaps playing with Liang Chenyu a little bit as well. You see that Jay has fallen back a couple of seconds now from Hirata, and that's good news for him, because that of course means he's got no need to really look in the mirrors and make sure nothing's happening behind him. Katsuya Hirata can focus forward here on the task at hand, and that task pretty much for the last 20 minutes of this race has been the same, and that has been get around Liang Chen-yu, and that's proven very difficult. Yu is a very developed racer. Only his debut season last year in Ferrari Challenge, and as I understand it, racing point blank. But with two-time Ferrari Challenge Japan champ Yuda Uchida as his coach, he has very quickly developed. The Rosso Scuderia team have been most impressed with how he's taken to racing. Came into this season as a potential favourite, certainly, in Copa Shell AM, but the Copa Shell AM standing is always a bit of an X factor. You don't know who's had time to test. You don't know which of the rookies is going to come in and really show up and show out. And of course, we had Zed Falcon dominate Copa Shell AM at Suzuka, so much so that with 2 overall top 5 finishes, he was told, and perhaps maybe slightly decided as well, to move up a couple of divisions, and he's now a Trofeo Pirelli AM driver. So this is a big day for the championship picture in Copa Shell AM as well, to see who's picking up that mantle as the front runner from Zed Falcon, who's moved on and up into Pirelli AM. Right now it looks like Yu Hang-tun is on his way. We're watching here as Bamboo Maeda and Hirota do battle, or rather, sorry, Takshaw and Bamboo Maeda do battle for 5th and 6th places. Still no opportunity that's beckoned for Bamboo Maeda. He's going to have 2 more laps to try and make this move, as Hang-tun will cross the line with about 15 seconds, I think, left to go. So 2 more laps. Bamboo Maeda getting a little bit loose there, trying to find space to move around the rear of Takshaw's car. We have indeed crossed the line to do, or to register that this will be the penultimate lap of the race. Clock hits 0 now, 2 to go here in Ferrari Challenge Japan. Copa Shell AM, race 1 of the weekend here. Trofeo Pirelli AM and Copa Shell had their race earlier on, which was Group 1 overall by Trofeo Pirelli AM driver Yasutaka Shirasaki. Motohiko Isasaki winning Trofeo Pirelli honours in that race. As we get a look back here at a move. And that's the 170 car of Tetsuo Matsumoto, making up a position. Was that for 7th place? Yes, it should have been. In fact, I think it would have been for 8th place. 10th place, actually. Ignore me. He's up into the overall top 10. Just haven't got around Komatsu there. Oh, and some lap traffic to contend with here. And I think it's lap traffic that has held up the race leader. Yes, it is. 1.6 seconds between the leader and 2nd place all of a sudden. The laps are counting down. Liang Chen-yu is still under immense pressure from Hirata, but in the back markers, Yu Hang-tun has had a bit of a moment. He's been slightly tripped up. 1 more lap between the Malaysian racer and victory, but the smallest gap that we've seen between 1st and 2nd place since the very earliest laps of this race. In fact, since lap number 1 of this race. I don't think that Liang Chen-yu is close enough here. Hirata certainly is close enough for a move for 2nd, and keep an eye on Jay as well. He gained time in all of that. The top 4 split by less than 2.5 seconds as we go on to this final lap of the race. Yu Hang-tun for European version, just 1.5 seconds clear at the front, but it should be enough as it stands. Is there any more lap traffic immediately ahead of Yu Hang-tun? It doesn't look like it. It was Ozaki's recovering car that I think has been in the pits a couple of times, which slightly delayed the leader there. Final corners of the race. Yu Hang-tun looks like he's got this under control. Liang Chen-yu is still under pressure, under big pressure, as is Takshaw from Bamboo Maeda in 5th and 6th place. Will we see a move in either of these battles in the last corner? Yu Hang-tun Just 2 corners from home, the Malaysian racer is about to take his debut Copa Shell AM victory for the European version dealership. A brilliant first lap where he built a massive gap, and he's continued to lead ever since then. A great drive from Yi Hang-tun. It will be second place by the narrowest of margins for Liang Chen-yu as Hirata raced him all the way to the line to round out the podium. Jay in 4th place, and in 5th place, that is Takshaw. No, it's Bamboo Maeda. There's been a switch. Bamboo Maeda is up into 5th position, and Takshaw down to 7th because Hirota got past him. And we're going to get a look at what happened. Bamboo Maeda following Takshaw through. And that was a very nice move from Bamboo Maeda. After many laps of patience and persistence, I was half expecting there to be a clumsy moment between the two of them, but no, that was lovely driving from Bamboo Maeda. Got the power down perfectly, and by 7/1000ths of a second, Takshaw then lost out to Hirota in the 1:16 as well. Hirota, who of course was recovering after a moment earlier on. Well, Yi Hang-tun in just his 2nd weekend of Ferrari Challenge Japan can now call himself a Copa Shell AM race winner, and I'm sure that's all the sweeter given he was able to win the race overall as well with this split grid. Real moment in the spotlight here for Yi Hang-tun and the European version team. I'm not convinced that European version have ever had an overall race win in Ferrari Challenge before either. Also exciting to see 3 nationalities on the podium, with the Malaysian racer ahead of the Chinese Liang Chen-yu and Japan's Hirata. All of whom are very new to racing. In fact, I think Liang Chen-yu the only 2nd-year driver in that podium. While I had my concerns and reservations, I think Yi Hang-tun had that one under control. Lap traffic playing against him late on, which sort of exemplifies why you don't allow a gap to go begging. Although I do wonder if that early spurt of pace where he was over 2.5 seconds clear at the end of the first lap did cause him some grip grief towards the end of the race.
All right, let's go.
Either way,
Wow.
the result has worked for him. Let's listen in.
Good job, man. Good job. Perfect.
Interesting there to hear them communicating in English with the Malaysian racer.
How was that?
Tiring.
How was that? Tiring.
Congratulations. More big smile. Okay, thank you very much.
Tiring, he says. That rather sums it up, doesn't it? In these conditions, the high 20s in terms of air temp. Of course, not only that, but almost no wind as well, so no breeze, only warmth out there this weekend. And certainly Yi Hang-tun had to work for that. I'm sure there were moments there in amongst the traffic where he lost a bit of time and saw Liang Chen-yu close in. There are moments where maybe he thought this one wasn't going to work out for him, but work out it did. I'm sure we'll be hearing from the three of them with Kai Cozzolino again, and in fact I think they're
放送席
down there now.
こちらシェルアマクラスのウィナーのミスタータンのインタビューになります。 Congratulations, you won the race for the first time here in Ferrari Challenge. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was great.
The last time I saw you was actually at a road tour Ferrari Grand Tour Japan, and I think we spoke and I convinced you to come join Ferrari Challenge, and here you are winning races.
Yes, you did. Thanks to you, I'm here now.
I think you had a lot of pressure from behind. You had a big lead in the beginning, and then slowly you were starting to lose the lap. But then you managed to win the race. How was the pressure?
Yeah, it was. I heard from the radio the behind was closing, and it's scary. But yeah, thank God I win.
Amazing. Yeah, you'll have tomorrow race 2 again. What are your plans for tomorrow?
I heard it's going to be raining, so don't crash. Yeah, probably just that. Thank you.
Amazing. Congratulations. Race 2 winner. See you tomorrow for race 2. Good luck.
Thanks.
はい、ということで失礼しました。今英語だけでしたね。実はタン選手は前回まではフェラーリのグランドツアーで本当にロードカーのツーリングから、私以前お会いして、でその時にフェラーリチャレンジ参加したらということで今年フェラーリチャレンジジャパンに参加していただいて、なんと2戦目でも初優勝ということで非常に本人も喜んでいました。かなりね後ろからも接近されて、最初は5秒のギャップからどんどん最後は1秒ギャップ、非常にプレッシャーはあったけれども、ちゃんと最後落ち着いてレースをクロージングできて良かったですということで、明日のレース2に向けてはちょっと
Japanese colleague, don't want to overthrow him, but I don't know if we're going to hear from the other two parties on the podium with Kai. I'm not sure we will, but Yi Hang-tun delivering us some insight there and also delivering us a forecast that he's expecting rain tomorrow, which is certainly going to be a point of interest, isn't it, if that proves to be accurate. That will make things a little bit more treacherous. Certainly, traditionally, if it does rain at Okayama, it rains a lot at Okayama. So we'll keep our eyes pressed on that one. That will be a dramatic addition to the race if that proves to be accurate. And certainly it'll be a lot of fun to watch as well. And for the Shell AM drivers in particular, it will be survival. We are then podium bound, and we will see our top 3 drivers from this Shell AM race celebrate. Of course, just the one podium here, given this is a single class race. And we will welcome our top 3 onto the podium. That will, of course, begin with Hirata. A very strong race from Katsuya Hirata today, and he'll be looking to try and go better in race number 2. It looked like he had a lot of pace in his back pocket. He just couldn't get past Liang Chen-yu. Liang Chen-yu makes his way to the second step of the podium, but on this day, despite feeling the pressure from behind, Yi Hang-tun, a race winner in Ferrari Challenge Japan. And now the top 3 will observe the Malaysian national anthem. ディーラー代表者の方は3位表彰台の横にお願いいたします。どうぞ。おめでとうございます。どうぞ大きな拍手お願いいたします。続きましてジェントルマン賞の表彰です。この度のジェントルマン賞はカーナンバー170番コーンズ大阪松本哲夫選手が受賞されました。おめでとうございます。皆様おめでとうございます。それではコッパシェルアマクラスの1位に輝きましたイー・ハンタン選手の栄誉をたたえ国歌を放送いたしますので、皆様脱帽をお願いいたします。 Here comes the anthem now.
E. Hunter is winner. Congratulations.
Yeah, big congratulations to Yi Hang-tun. They will now be presenting trophies to our top three and our subclass winner as well. That's Hirata, I believe. The overall top three on the main three steps, and will be a champagne spray for these drivers. The final podium of the day here for Ferrari Challenge Japan. Of course, we'll be splitting the grids once again on Sunday. And so as they pose for the pictures, their celebrations will turn to thoughts of what will come on Sunday. Will the weather be as drastically different as our race winner, Yi Hang-tun, suggests, and indeed as the forecast does indeed somewhat suggest as well? We'll have to keep an eye on that. Michito Hirota in 6th position in the overall Shell AM category is the other driver up there with the top three, winning the subclass, which I believe is some of the slightly older drivers. But now the top three overall in the Shell AM race celebrate with a sizable serving of champagne.
Second position is Liang Chen-yu. So the winner is Yi Hang-tun. おめでとうございました。以上をもちまして、表彰を終了させていただきます。どうぞ表彰台からご講談ください。
Well, the celebrations certainly not dampened by the dampened race suits. And they'll be ready to do it all again on Sunday. Here's a look back at the Saturday race, though. A very good start from row 2, but it would be Liang Chen-yu in 2nd place and Yi Hang-tun in the lead through the early laps of the race. A non-start, unfortunately, for the 1-2-2 of Isuki Ozaki initially. And very quickly carving his way through the order was the 1-7-7 of Katsuya Hirata. He was up to 3rd place in short order. Contact between Fukue and Michael Ung, which would damage both cars. You'd see fighting all through the field. But the most intense battling of all was in that top 5, and this was Bamboo Maeda moving into 5th place on the very last lap of the race. He did a very good job to move by after a lot of Olympic-level patience. While the gap between 1st and 2nd place would shrink over the course of the distance, it would be Yi Hang-tun that would take his first Copa Shell AM victory in Ferrari Challenge Japan, and with it, with this standalone grid, an overall victory as well. The 193 of Liang Chen-yu taking 2nd place despite an intense battle practically all through the last 2/3 of the race with Katsuya Hirata.
Wow.
And our race winner summed it up in one word. He said, yeah, tiring, to his crew immediately after that. Half an hour plus 1 lap in well over 25 degrees Celsius heat. Yi Hang-tun winning the race from Liang Chen-yu. Katsuya Hirata 3rd, Jay in 4th. Look at that, 2.6 seconds between them. Bamboo Maeda with a last lap pass for 5th place. And then Hirota got through as well on tack short to claim 6th place by just 0.07 of a second. Koji Yamamoto in 8th place to round out that top phase of the 18-car field. But some great racing all through the pack. Lawrence Lau in 9th place was coming under pressure from Matsumoto, but Matsumoto couldn't quite get there. Komatsu in 11th. Kako down there in 12th place to round out the top dozen. 2 cars not classified, unfortunately. Fukue and Michael Ung not able to see the flag, but we'll see what happens tomorrow when the Copa Shell AM division goes racing again in Ferrari Challenge Japan. Will the conditions be as different as we're maybe suggesting here at the Okayama International Circuit? We'll keep an eye on that. And certainly with 2 stellar races in the book, we look forward to bringing you 2 more on Sunday. The times will be much the same. We'll be getting started at 12:50 local time, actually, so a little bit earlier for the race 1 formation lap. 12:40 will be live with you in local time, and then a couple of hours later, about an hour and 50 minutes later, we'll be with you with the Copa Shell AM race once again. So 2 more exciting races to bring you from Okayama International Circuit on Sunday in Ferrari Challenge Japan. We do hope that you will join us for more racing action as the second round of Ferrari Challenge Japan continues. It's certainly been an exciting opener. Of course, we started at Suzuka. We're here at Okayama. We have Motegi, Fuji, and a return trip to Suzuka to come. And after those first 3 races of the year, the remaining half dozen or so are going to be very much worth watching. We look forward to bringing you that action. We look forward to seeing what happens next in the respective title battles and race battles here in Ferrari Challenge Japan. Make sure you join us again on Sunday for more here from Okayama.
Okay.